Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Horizon series interviews. My name is Mieko Ouchi. I use the pronoun she, her, and I'm here today in my role as associate artist at the Citadel. And I'm very happy to be introducing Gina Puntil and Jared Matsunaga-Turnbull, who are here from the Workplace Program and the Alberta Workers Health Centre. So welcome, friends. Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge that the land in which we are gathering on today in different parts of the city is Treaty Number 6 territory and a traditional meeting ground and home of the First Nations, including the treaty signatories, the Cree, the Saulteaux, the Nakota Sioux, the Stoney, and the Cree Iroquois, as well as many other Indigenous peoples such as the Blackfoot and Métis who also occupied this land. And we extend our sincere appreciation for the opportunity to live and create and perform and today talk to each other on this territory. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Just to start off, maybe I'll get you two to introduce yourselves. And I thought just to kick things off, to give people a little picture of how you came to be here today, what drew you to the arts? What was the path that you took that got you kind of to, I know it'll be a piece of what got you to today, but what drew you to the arts? So maybe Jared, in seniority, I'll ask you first.
Because he is the senior.
Hi, I'm Jared Matsunaga-Turnbull, he, him pronouns. Do you want like title stuff?
Sure.
Hi, I'm Jared. I'm Jared Matsunaga-Turnbull, he, him. I'm the executive director of the Alberta Workers Health Centre, for many years, I was a professional theatre artist. And I guess I got into it, well, you know, I was shy as a kid. I found drama through some really, like a lot of people, through that one teacher. We had an opportunity where drama was offered, first of all, in public school. And that teacher nurtured it and saw something. And for me, it was a way to have a voice. And I feel like, it was a way to have fun and play. And as we got into rehearsal halls or different situations where you could actually explore things and learn skills, it was a way to safely explore voice. Not in all rooms, but the experiences I had early on led to, I think, my desire to see that keep happening in some way. So that was kind of it.
Great, thank you. Gina.
Hi, my name is Gina. I actively use a pronoun she and her. I am the, who am I? I'm the artistic director and program coordinator for the Alberta Workers Health Centre's Workplace Schools program. At any chance, I celebrate my womanness and my Filipino-ness. Yeah, and where did I start with theater? For me, it really took hold in high school. I'm very similar to Jared. There was a teacher that was there that nurtured it. I also, I really enjoyed theater. However, at that time, I'm just like, I love it, but I don't want to be on stage. I don't want to be, that's a part of it. And I guess that's what I'm going to have to do if this is what I want to do. But then it was the introduction of, oh, there's something called a stage manager. There's technical directors, there are production managers, there are things behind the scenes that support and are just as artistic and have a voice within the room. So, and that's how I followed through. And that was my path in theater to get to where I am right now.
I always love asking that question because everyone's path is so different. And I think it's great to let people know that like there's not the right way or the wrong way to get into theater. Like you're drawn to something because of just how it intersects with your own interests and your own talents and passions. And it's just always an interesting story to hear that. So for full disclosure, I have known Jared and Gina for a long time. And in fact, Jared and I were artistic co-directors of Concrete Theatre for, my gosh, over 10 years. I think between 92, we think, and 2006. Yeah, that's what we're pretty sure.
I think.
When we were youngins. And of course, during that time and afterwards, I first met Gina as a stage manager and as the production manager at Theatre Network. And Gina stage managed many shows at Concrete, many tours across the country, and many a Sprouts festival as well, I believe. So that's been our as we got to know each other too. So Jared, when you decided to make that big step and step away from Concrete Theatre into this job, what drew you to do that? What brought you to the Workers Health Centre?
Well, I don't know how to be succinct with this because it wasn't a sort of a decision so much as a bunch of things led to sort of an evolution, I guess. I think Gina and I share this, and we talk about it. And actually, you and Mieko and I, we also share this. While my origin or coming into theater was something that I really wanted to do, there were significant things that were in place that allowed me to see myself in theater as being someone who, at the time, I think, depending on what room I'm in, the context of racialization has shifted since, for the last couple of decades. I was really perceived as a person of color in more rooms than I am currently because of the level of melanin in my skin. But it was, even back then, there weren't opportunities for people who looked like me, for me to see someone who looked like me on stage. And then to see that as a pathway for theater. I lucked out because the first class I took, drama class in university I took, was taught by a sessional instructor, Caroline Howarth, who was part of Concrete Theater. And two things. One is that she had a stated objective to ensure participation by diverse folks in the room. And we also used popular theater techniques and embraced social action and social issues as something that we should be exploring using theater. And those two things allowed me to see a place for myself. And then an audition came up, an opportunity to audition for Concrete came up. And I probably wouldn't have done it except that I felt like it was a safe place to go because I knew who Caroline was. I didn't get the part, and then someone dropped out, and then I did get the part. And that was participatory, and that was actually Mieko. That was the Decisions, which was a participatory play for junior high students on things that were relevant to their lives, right? Different issues. And that was my first experience in professional theater. I later went back to get my acting degree, but that formed my, I guess it really solidified that what I want to be doing is building things with other people and building the ability of folks in a room to meaningfully participate. And as Jane Heather, who was a mentor of ours as well, and a pioneer of a bunch of participatory theater, said that the goal is to try to democratize the room. And that's been something that I was really interested in doing. And actually, when I went through theater school, the opportunities for theater, there wasn't a lot of that. So we had to make it ourselves, right? Like we had to do Are We There Yet? We had to look at opportunities to build the canon so that it wasn't just predominantly white, dead white men theater that was being produced. It was trying to reaching out to young people, which is where our programming was, which was specifically for young people, to go, you have a place, you have a valid voice, you have an important voice, and we can use theater as a way of having these really amazing discussions that inform future programming and future action, both inside the theater and outside the theater. This is long-winded, but so that is the foundation for wanting to build a theater for young audiences with Concrete Theater, to really embracing the notion of equity and diversity actions within theater and meaningful representation by a diversity of folks. And an opportunity came up to work on building a new play called Work Plays, written by Jane Heather, commissioned by the Alberta Workers Health Centre. So I was involved as an actor in the first bit, as a dramaturg, and then as a director. And it was a gig. And you expect these gigs to happen, these commissions to go one tour into high schools to let young people know what their rights are in the workplace and to be as participatory and as democratic as possible with that process. And then there was funding for it. So it happened again. And I signed on again. And then at that point, I think I had a kid. My daughter was born. And gig work is really hard. And what we're trying to build at Concrete was really hard to sustain even without a kid, but this sort of forced some decisions. And then an opportunity came up to work at the health center with benefits. And You know, I wanted to have a more secure life for even for a year, because it wasn't guaranteed past that. The program became a program, not just a project. This workplace schools program became my full-time job. And I got to use the stuff that I really cared about and learned from theater to put towards this program with a more narrower mandate, right, in terms of what the content is, but the ability to actually get theater artists involved and mix theater, storytelling, and social justice together was pretty unique, and it spoke to a bunch of things that I want to do, and it was for young people, which that's where we could make a difference, you know, and where I didn't feel like I didn't belong, because the other thing is someone who looked like me at the time, I could play someone who vaguely was Asian on stage, or I could play someone who was a kid, an adult pretending to be a kid in theater for young audiences. Those are the places where I was hired, and those are the places where I didn't feel like a fraud. we can expand on that a little bit later. That was really long-winded, and that's how I ended up at the Workers Health Centre.
That's an amazing story, and it just is such a tribute to like the labyrinthian ways that we work our way into jobs, and jobs develop as we, you know, put energy towards them and like find the funding. And that was certainly the story of Concrete Theater. That's certainly the story of Workplace and this program as well. So how did Gina get involved? Gina, how did you jump on board?
By someone else having another gig. So the Alberta Workers Health Centre's Workplace Schools program, or I guess it wasn't even a program then, where there was consistent funding, but it wasn't a formed program. Anyways, so the Alberta Workers Health Centre was, never heard of them in 2005, 4, 6. Within those 3 years, there was an opportunity, being someone participating in the gig economy, go as a stage manager at that time, going from gig to gig. And the stage manager pool is very small here in Edmonton at that time. Someone said, hey, you know what, I can't do the rehearsal, what is it, the rehearsal process and the first week of tour, but I can hop on for the rest of it. Are you willing to fill in for me? And I just went, yeah, of course, because that dovetails beautifully in other contracts that I had. And that was my first foray into with the Alberta Workers Health Centre. My focus at that time was TYA. For all the reasons that Jared just said, a place of belonging, to be able to see yourself, meaningful progressive work, representation, it's social justice, it's all there. It's the exact same thing. And so when I encountered the Alberta Workers Health Centre, and this was the very first time that Jared and I had actually worked together on an extensive contract, like more than a re-rehearsal at Concrete. And it was, I'm gonna talk about him like I can't see him right now. There was just, when you find somebody that you can actually work with and have shared minds and things just explode and you want to start building more things with, it was just like, there's a human being that shares my language. There's a human being that sees me in a room. There's a human being that holds up values that I also hold close to my heart and have not been able to explore in other productions. So there was desire to do more, to work with not just Jared, but with the program itself. But of course, you know, still gigging for 3 more years after that, and then coming on full time as their stage manager with benefits. And again, never even heard about that happening. In 2009, so 11 years ago, and doing it full time, and really not just focusing on theater, but also expanding my world into social justice and the labor movement, and the worker, the individual worker within theater, as we as artists are workers, and outside of our world, and really seeing our economy work in human beings and how they're being treated, and learning more about processes, and who has access to these policies and rules, and being able to talk about barriers. So I mean, it's been a constant growth working there. And then in 2013, there was a shift at the Alberta Workers Health Centre. Jared, maybe you can help me out on this one of how this all came about, as far as being able to take on the program as an artistic director, which Jared had been running. Jared is my predecessor in this role. So, yeah.
Do you want to jump in there right now? There was a project that the New Alberta Workers Project came up.
Right.
So the Health Center received funding to collaborate with 2 ethnocultural community associations or organizations to look at a province-wide program to basically to educate and build the capacity of newcomers to Alberta on their health and safety rights and responsibilities, and sort of look at those people who tend to be more vulnerable to health and safety stuff. So I went into that as the project coordinator, which was a little terrifying, I'd say. Ultimately excellent, but it was time for me. It was a chance for me to move into something else, right? And that meant that we needed to fill this. And I was like, God, please, I hope Gina takes this. I hope she's to take this, because it's a really, without going to the details of it, like the program, it's not like a typical theater company, right? There's an artistic director, but a project coordinator. We don't really have a general manager, right? Gina is making all the high level decisions, right? And implementing them, and was touring, right, with the plays as well. So it was a lot of stuff, and we had intentions built into this. That it couldn't just be a gig. We felt like it, someone just coming to lead the program. There's such an organizational memory and stuff that was needed, right? So anyway, that was Gina.
That was exactly it. I was just like, how did that shift happen? I just remember when it happened, and being absolutely reluctant that change was happening. Like, I was very happy in my role as the stage manager. And so to step into the next decision-making role seemed way too much for me. And because I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think that was like in the structure of theaters, stage managers usually do not take that route. So I just thought, well, that's outside of my realm. I can't do that. Are you kidding me? I've only directed little bits here and there. I've only, done workshops. How am I supposed to run a program? Lo and behold, it can be done. It has been, like, that first year was a freaking nightmare, but because I was full of self-doubt and hiring outside people that were excellent human beings. And then I thought, well, you know what? I can take on a little bit more. I have some ideas. I would really love to build on, dive deeper into the social justice realm of the humans involved. And I think over the years that I've been able to, and honored to have this position, I want to say that not only are we serving the TYA receiving audience community, but the artistic community within our region, within Edmonton, and secretly, don't tell anybody, but there's a desire to build activists within artists, to have them come into the room and to see themselves as viable workers with a voice, load them up with knowledge, to see that they're not alone in the work that they're doing. And to be able, and again, really honing in on representation and justice and love, which is, for me, cannot be sold separately. So yeah.
Really it's become almost like a dual mandate in terms of serving the kids and the youth that you reach, but also the artists that you work with and develop. Because I feel like at Concrete too, that we share that sense of like wanting to develop artists in the community, and really feeling a commitment and a calling to help people as they come out of theater schools or other kinds of training. Doesn't even necessarily have to be professional theater training. They could be coming from other experiences, but to give them more confidence, more skills, experiences under their belt that they can take forward, that are hopefully positive, progressive, supportive, that will help them continue to want to work in the arts in a way that they feel heard. So I just know that you know, having Jared as a colleague at the workplace, and then eventually having Gina, you know, come on board as another colleague, has always been wonderful for us at Concrete, to feel like we had sort of a sister organization and fellow folks who shared some of the same values as we did in the city. It's been really important to us. So, okay, so here's a question. Oh, Jared, did you have something? Yeah.
Well, I think it's important to state that we have resources at the Workers Health Centre. We are funded differently, and that does two things. One is that we're governed by a board of directors made up of working people, right? We have labor activists, we have individual workers, we have worker advocates. And so when you're talking about the double mandate, right, to produce something that goes out, right, for the target audience or the demographic where we're trying to reach, that's certainly really important. But there's always been this focus on the people that work on our projects for us and with us, the recognition of the inherent value of working people. And that's backed up by the core funding that we get, which is largely through the labor movement. And for people who aren't familiar with the Alberta labor movement, that's one of the principles is we're able to secure some resources for social causes that are in the best interest of democracy and participation by working people, whether they're currently working or whether there's part of the working class. And so that's really important. That's actually quite different, and has allowed us, and through Gina, and she can talk about some of the other projects you're able to take on, to be able to actually build the capacity of other organizations or other causes that fall into building a more just society. The end.
Yeah, I just want to jump in on that. It has the Alberta Workers Health Centre and the program have allowed me to be able to participate in furthering my education, my experience, my skills in these specific areas of the labor movement, education, social justice, activism, and tie them all together with some sort of artistry. And it has been beautiful. And I would not have been able to do that if I wasn't working at the Alberta Workers Health Centre. And I am like, yeah, I came on board as just for gigs, right? It was a source of money, and then to be taken care of, I don't want to say that they coddle me, but they have allowed me to have opportunities because of the structure that it lives in, because of the way that the people, not just within the organization itself, but our supporting bodies, our board, our community, have been able to. I've had access to a lot of information and opportunities to experience and participate.
Okay.
And the payoff actually, sorry, I mean, this is going over now, but the payoff of that, it's not a one-sided thing, right? I think we tend to look at organizational structure and we go, well, we'll provide opportunities for people, we'll nurture and support our staff. But the payoff is actually, like, I mean, first of all, if you're not running a gig, if we're not forced to be in sort of a gig mentality, which we're luckily not having to do at the Workers Health Centre for, you know, the small staff that we have, the payoff is, well, yeah, we're providing opportunities, but that's in the best interest of the organization, because that's how we've been able to push push things forward, right? We would not be, I would say, be in a position where Gina is at the forefront of pushing for equity, diversity, and inclusion actions meaningfully if she hadn't had those opportunities. She's actually making the organization stronger as a result. She is challenging our own organizational structure and our actions, and pushing us to be more responsible that way. And that couldn't have happened without having those resources and that support embedded, and also a lack of precarity of work. Because anyone can have the idea to make things better as one individual, but if you're on a 6-week contract, the chances of you being able to access things without fear of repercussions or being put on the bad list, right? Never worked with again, or seen as a troublemaker. These are real. And hopefully we're not in the same boat here. That's what we strive to do.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think lots of people don't understand sort of the structure of the organization or know too much about it. It's beautiful to hear what you have built together and what it's allowed for you to, and also for all the artists that you work with, because I know it's offered some really great opportunities for the artists that you work with, for sure. We certainly hear that from the artists that we run into and that we work with as well. So I have a question. So for someone who hasn't seen one of your shows, it arrives in a school. Is this like the standard play that we're used to seeing, or does it look different? Does it exist differently in a school? We're used to, you know, with school training, that you hit the gym and there's 350 kids in a gym. Is that what your plays look like, or do they look like something different?
Gosh, just thinking about going into schools right now is there's a warm memory, but it's also a little bit heartbreaking at this moment, as we know that we can't do that right now. Yeah. So let's think back to 6 months ago or 7 months ago when we were in schools and what it looks like. So we have 2 separate plays a year, and one of them goes into high schools and one of them goes into junior highs. So if you allow me, I'm just going to talk about each one individually. Sure. So our high school play is called Working It Out by Beth Graham. And we have performed it in gymnasiums. We've also performed it in libraries or in, dare I say, hallways of a smaller school. Like, we can fit it into anywhere. Is it a straight play? Yeah, it is. With some, we follow the story of two new to the workplace workers, or younger workers, that have a lot of direct address to the audience, that they are able to talk directly to the audience and then set up the scene and to move through the story arc. And the play itself does not end neatly. It basically starts, it doesn't, like, it just, it creates more questions. And so after the play, which runs about 45 minutes long, or 42, depending on the hallway, we have a very structured talk back where we're able to look back at the play itself, address some of the issues, to be able to really highlight the workers, because in the play it is loaded with information about occupational health and safety, workers' compensation, employment standards, human rights, and all the little things and all the subjects, I guess, that fall underneath it, like minimum wage and the right to refuse and PPE, which 7 months ago would have been something that we'd have to explain. And these days, I think it's like common language with everyone. We talk about scheduled breaks and vacation pay, and then discrimination, racism, going under the human rights umbrella, abuse, unacceptable behavior, sexual harassment. And so when I say it's loaded, it's absolutely loaded. And then the talk back, we're able to name it, for one thing, talk about it, and provide a resource. So in my head, we do the play in order to do the talk back. And we also give out these cards with all the resources on it. And that's the way it works with our high school play. And then with our junior high play, this year, 6 months ago, was the inaugural tour of our new junior high play called Safe and Fair CNET Work by Jane Heather. And with the idea of, we do the play to do the talk back, it's like, what if it was all one big talk back with the theatrical moments put in between?
Cool.
So it's more modular. It is, we introduce higher tech. We had large videos. We were thinking about this age group, particularly of what they have, of what they're exposed to now versus what they were exposed to 10 years ago, which is much different. Yeah, again, but the exact same, the same issues of occupational health and safety, or same topics as occupational health and safety, workers' compensation, employment standards, and human rights. Like, all of those are still packed right in there. We're just able to have the two actors with their scenes and a facilitator along the way. Very much the Jane Heather expertise in popular theater styles. Yeah, so I mean, we have two plays, they're slightly different, and again, can perform in auditoriums, in gymnasiums, hallways. Libraries are my favorite. For some reason, libraries are awesome.
Yes, we have performed in many a library at Country Theatre as well.
But I went on, so.
No, that's fabulous. And like, I think I know the answer to this, but I do want to pose it because lots of people haven't experienced this kind of educational sort of theater model, but you could have chosen to do all of this through a video or through a booklet or through graphic novels. So what is it about seeing actors performing scenes dramatically that you saw as the most useful tool to animate these conversations? Is there something that theater gives that no one, like other mediums, can't?
Yeah, yes, the dramatics, wonderful. Live theater is incredible because it is live. We are, and this is hard to say right now because of the climate that we're living in, but to be in the same room, to watch a relationship build between the vulnerable people on stage and the open hearts in the audience that are receiving it. And sometimes those hearts are closed at the beginning and then they slowly get to open. You get a little crack in there, which is amazing. It's that cycle of breath, which goes hand in hand with the storytelling cycle, right? I will always believe that this program's strength lies in live theater. What we have to do right now is take that idea of relationship building, with seeing each other, with genuinely sharing and trying to crack open those hearts onto a different medium. which is challenging, but not impossible. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question. My heart just went blah.
I know it's a hard time to talk about live theater
Yeah.
right now. Like we really found that even just with our small foray into a return with our Horizon Lab event, welcoming 100 people into the Shocker at the Citadel, and people were very emotional coming back into the space, and the artists coming back into the theater space were very emotional because we miss it and we know the power of it, and that these other things that we're coming up with, we can make them work, but they don't replace that experience. And so I totally understand that emotion. Yeah, but Jared, is there anything you want to say just about like why you chose theater as the workplace, as why theater remains the main medium for the workplace program?
Well, it actually started from our predecessor at the Workers Health Centre, Kevin Flaherty, who, wealth of knowledge, activist, community builder. He was called, like the myth of this, the story that is built around this is, he was asked to do a presentation in a high school on a Friday afternoon in a gymnasium of high school students. And the teacher said, welcome. They're all in there waiting for you. You got 2 hours, go. Open the door and sent them in. And, like anyone, no matter how eloquent you are, no matter how knowledgeable you are, no matter how good your intentions are, on a Friday afternoon in a gym full of high school students who don't want to be here, listening to something that is going to save your lives, so you better listen up, right? It's about occupational health and safety, like the most boring topic ever, by some guy who has white skin, is probably 60 because he's got white hair, talking to us, is the least effective way of educating anyone. And this is from Kevin's own mouth, right? He was like, he left there going, they tuned me out immediately. Like I knew it was dead in 5 minutes. I had nothing left to do, right? There's got to be a better way. And it was actually that sort of what if consideration that led to this. He had then seen a play that Jane Heather had wrote called Running at the Fringe one year that was put on and commissioned by a couple of civic unions here, Canadian Union of Public Employee Unions. One of them being the union that we belong to right now, CUPE 474, and I think CUPE 30 was also involved in commissioning this. This is when labor and the arts were really, there was a couple of people going, we need to be using the arts as a way to explore issues. And this was the time of massive public sector cuts resulting from the Klein era. We need to tell stories of working people. He saw that, talked to Jane afterwards and said, do you ever write anything for young people? And of course, she had written Are We There Yet? Right. Which Concrete had commissioned and developed and toured for 87 years. And was specifically about hearing from young people around and using theater because of the things that Gina is saying, right? This is a way for us all to be in a room together. This is relationship building. And I think there's also a recognition, if I can just put this in here, there's this myth that we say a lot, is knowledge is power. But the problem with that is that it isn't. You have to have power in order to exercise anything. You can know what your rights are, but in order to actually have real agency, you actually have to have power to begin with. And a passive experience relies on an individual being able to take that next step by themselves. What theater can do is bring everyone together collectively in a room together and hash things out. You are going to find yourself, hopefully, with allies in that room. And I will say that what I believe is that knowledge is power if more than one person has it. Because as soon as you have those 2 people to those 3 people together, you're able to actually have some collective action, which protects people involved, but also makes it more of a party, frankly. It actually becomes a social, it's what we do, we're social together, and we can move things forward. That's what theater does. That's what Jane recognizes inherently. That's what Kevin Flaherty recognized. That's what I learned as a result of being in largely women-led organization at Concrete Theater that actually had representation from people who are marginalized in our society and are used to having no voice, and came together collectively to try to challenge that notion. It's why when Gina arrived on the scene at Concrete, instantly we had a shared vocabulary we didn't even know we had, because we weren't allowed to say those words until we were in a safe room together to explore those vocabularies together. So this is all a culmination. I feel like the early work that I was exposed to doing participatory theater based on getting to that talk back, using theater as a way to, in a very skillful way, getting to start a conversation with people. If you use video, you can do that, but it's very passive. People have to choose to engage. With theater, you have to choose not to engage. And I think that's the power of going to people. I think that's what we miss. But I also think that as we pivot, forgive me, to online ways, using those concepts of that we're using theater, we're using Zoom call, we're using these things and story to build relationship, that relationship is the crucial thing, right? Because without the relationship, you don't have collective power. And without collective power, you don't have hope for change.
Thank you so much for sharing those thoughts and sharing what it is that you have nurtured and built at the Alberta Workers Health Centre. We're so appreciative of you joining us today and sharing little bits. And thank you so much. And if anyone's interested in finding out more information about the centre or potentially booking a play into a school, maybe not this year, maybe next year, or bringing an excellent video version of this into your school in the near future, how do they get in touch with you, Jeremy and Gina?
Well, they could actually check us out. I'm about to launch a new website, which is, you can find us at workplaysab.ca, which is just the name of our program, Workplays, AB, the province that we're in, .ca, because we are .ca. And you can also just email me directly, which is my first name, Gina, at workershealthcentre.ca, and center being spelled C-E-N-T-R-E.
The Canadian way.
Yeah, on this side, for sure. Yeah, that's where you can find us.
Great.
And if you want to know more about the center, Jared?
Sure, by all means. You can check us out at workershealthcentre.ca. Again, center spelled with an R-E, the Canadian way. And I would also encourage you, this is one of those things where there is a legacy of this program. There have been many artists that have come through this program over the years. And if you want to know more, talk to people who have graduated from the program or who have brought this thing to life. Right. And particularly in the last several years where Gina has been at the helm, where she's been really good about building safe and inclusive spaces and really looking at the process for the way that these plays are made. I would encourage you to check out the folks who have gone through this. They are skillful, lovely, and experience doing this kind of work that's what you want to hear.
Yeah, maybe that could be applied in other workplaces. I would love to hear that this spawns plays popping up in other workplaces, spontaneous theater in workplaces. That's what I would like to see, because it's great and it makes it fun and you learn and you get to hear from everybody. So thank you again so much for joining. It's wonderful to see both your mugs in one place and to have shared this conversation. So on behalf of all of us at the Citadel, thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, thanks for joining.